Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Mission Employable podcast. My name is Ben Oldak. My co-host Kathy Leggett is out today doing a lot of Kathy Leggett things, including meetings and emails and stuff above my pay grade. So you're stuck with me today, but you are also stuck in a good way with our guest, Mary Jackson. She is our Bureau Chief for Transition Services for IVRS, Iowa Vocational Rehabilitation Services, now, of course, under IWD. Mary, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, first of all, how was your 4th of July? We're recording this a couple of days afterwards.
It was good. Lots of fireworks and lots of kids' activities all weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Mine was spent inhaling cheeseburgers and and a lot of post cheeseburgers Tums, because now at age 32 we have to contend with those things. Anyway, we've got a great show for you today, all about the summer Pre-ETS program, which is something really cool that IVRS has been doing for a number of years now, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so for people that don't know and don't know the acronym, please explain what all that means and what you guys have been doing.
Definitely. So Pre-ETS, or Pre-ETS as we refer to it as, is Pre-Employment Transition Services. So it is a way for us to provide different activities for students with disabilities across the state to learn more about the different career options that are available to them. So every summer we hold programming, and we do this year-round as well. But right now we're knee-deep into our summer programming that's happening across the state, where students are participating in various activities to help them explore different career options right now.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of career options that you guys have gotten into. Kind of talk a little bit about some of the stuff that you've seen over the years. I mean, it goes from all ends of the spectrum, really.
Definitely. We've done different opportunities collaborating with places like Hy-Vee, all the way up through various hospitals that have allowed students to come in to do different types of work-based learning experiences, to do job shadows, to do informational interviews, to learn more about all the different types of career options that those places have to offer.
Yeah, and there's something I think really special about this program because it offers that hands-on, tactile experience that a lot of kids really gravitate towards.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. We found in a lot of our surveys from our students and just in talking with teachers and community members, it seems that the students learn the best hands-on. So getting out there, trying the different types of occupations, we have that they interact best directly with businesses and the employees at the business site, so they can find out firsthand what that type of career is going to be like in the future, and then actually going in and trying to try out the career. So whether that's going into Hy-Vee, we've had some students go in and try out some bagging and stocking opportunities because maybe it's going to be the first job that they've ever had. And we've had others go in. For example, I know we have a video coming out about our Marshalltown experience where they really got to learn hands-on what those aviation pilots, what they do, I guess, on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, quick plug for that. That's a video that I shot. And so basically it's this the Marshalltown Community College Power Line program where people go to learn how to be line technicians. And these couple students were out there learning all about that from the teachers and the instructors of the program, to everything from the equipment to the tools to safety to how you get education into those programs, and then the hands-on portion of the experience. They got to go out onto this power pole training area and climb some power poles up to 10 feet and learn how to put their foot in the pole, how to shimmy up and down, how to rotate around. And then we've got a really cool visit from a place called Iron Horse Aviation, which is a local aviation company who contracts with power line companies to fly line workers into some of these kind of remote areas to work on power lines. And so they landed there with a couple of helicopters and talked to the kids about that aspect of the career field. And I mean, they were talking about, obviously it's a somewhat dangerous career path in there, but I mean, we're talking 6-figure salaries for some of these people that specialize in this aerial line work. And it was really cool. And so it's certainly something that I feel can really expand what people think of certain careers.
Mm-hmm. And it definitely is a great way not only to figure out what you're interested in, but things you aren't interested in. Because like you said, there could be high altitudes that they're going to have to climb to. And maybe some students that isn't for them and they didn't realize that was part of the job. So that's why it's always great to have those hands-on experiences, because it's great to not only find out things you like to do, but maybe things you don't like to do.
100%. I mean, like, perfect example. I was lucky enough to get up in one of the helicopters and fly around and get some footage of that. First time in a helicopter, and man, I was white knuckling that thing the entire time. I was like, I had one hand on like a support kind of grip and the other hand on my camera. And I'll pass on the aerial power line employment, but it's definitely for somebody else, and that's really cool to see when people get exposed to something that they see for the first time. And it's the Marshalltown team was working on trades specifically this summer, so they were doing a lot of stuff with welding. I think they mentioned like some pipe fitting and things like that, but a lot of these places also do some of the more business-centered things where they, I think you mentioned before there was like a Shark Tank kind of situation.
Yes, definitely. We've done Shark Tank where students come in on different types of self-employment ideas that they have come up with, and they go before judges and kind of pitch that. And it's really great because they're really creative, thinking outside the box, but also focusing in on things they've learned throughout the year, and really focused in on what they feel like they're going to be able to do in the future. And then they pitch these great ideas to the judges, and they do amazing compared to probably what I could do. But it's great to see them explore the various opportunities and to take a chance on really going before something like that, like Shark Tank, and they really enjoy that experience as well.
Yeah, definitely. So how do businesses get engaged with this kind of a program? Because obviously, this is great for students to be able to be exposed to these kinds of things and kind of set up their career paths. But on the flip side, it's also great for employers to put themselves in front of these students and potentially their next group of hires.
Definitely. We've had businesses actually reach out to us because they've heard about the great summer programming happening across the state. But a lot of times it's our staff and our contracted staff that are going out and talking with businesses, and then in meeting with them happen to mention, hey, we have Pre-ETS and we have summer programs, and how could we collaborate with you? And businesses are usually more than willing to come to the table because they want future workers for their workforce. And so it's a way for them to expose the students to what they want to do and hopefully get somebody that is going to be interested in the future. But a lot of businesses hear and see the great things that are happening, and they're actually reaching out to us at this point and asking to be a part of our summer program. We have students that also complete surveys to talk about what did they like, what did they not like, what do they want to see next year at the summer program. And then that helps drive our staff to have conversation with businesses to get them connected for the next summer program that we're going to have.
Yeah, and say if there's a business, someone in their HR department listening to this podcast, and maybe they haven't heard of this, or they're listening to this now and they're like, oh, this sounds awesome. What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
I would say to reach out to their local VR office. So on our website, we've got a Contact Us page that will provide all the contact information. Of course, they can always reach out to me as well, and I can get them connected to the area office that would be able to get them hopefully involved in an upcoming summer program.
Yeah, and what would be the best way to reach out to you if they needed to?
Oh, I would say email. So mary.jackson@iowa.gov.
Perfect. And then, you can find links to all of our IVRS programming through workforce.iowa.gov. Feel free to reach out to us if there's a program that you guys think would be really cool for some of these students to get involved with. So how has this program grown over the past several years? Because it seems like it's in a perpetual state of getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yes. So when we first started out, we did not have it statewide. Now we have 13 area offices across the state and multiple transition contracted programs as well that all develop summer programming. So in some areas of the state, when it first started, it may have been a few days, and now we have programs that are 6 to 8 weeks long that are spread out throughout the entire summer so that students are participating in these group Pre-ETS activities. We, of course, have individual Pre-ETS activities that are happening all summer long, all school year long, but this is the chance to really, when you're not in school, and maybe if you aren't on a paid work-based learning experience yet, to be able to participate in some of these to help explore what those career options could be. So we went to probably serving a few hundred students in the beginning to well over 800 students now that typically participate in our summer programs.
Wow. And do you have any projections about the next couple of years about how that's going to grow, or is that you're still kind of waiting and seeing?
Yep. So still waiting and seeing. We're always looking. Obviously, we're always trying to increase those numbers. I definitely say during COVID, our numbers dropped a little bit because we had switched to some virtual programming.
Sure, it makes sense, yeah.
But now that we're back to being hands-on, those numbers are increasing. We're always increasing our contracted programs, of course, as well. And so as they increase, the expectation is that they're going to develop summer programming as well. So we're hoping to get to some of the more remote areas in Iowa because we know sometimes resources and opportunities are limited. So we really want to help start establishing some mini camps across the state, not just in our urban areas, but in our rural areas. How can we make sure that we have some of these mini camps occurring so they're getting exposure to the same types of opportunities?
Yeah, and you know, like in this Marshalltown example, it's not just like businesses that are jumping on board here. It's also like higher education, community colleges, and things like that.
Yes, community colleges are great partners for these types of opportunities because a lot of times the businesses that are involved might require some sort of certification or a degree of some kind. And so it's really great to tie that all together with our post-secondary institutions so that the students can learn, hey, here's not only the career I'm interested in, but here's the track to get there. What is my career pathway and the certification I could get to help me be successfully employed in this area? So community colleges, as well as our region institutions, have been great with partnering for our summer programs.
And that kind of brought me to my next question, which is, this obviously exposes a lot of students to these things, but then what are the next steps after that? You know, say a student, you know, goes through one of these programs and they're like, yeah, this is totally for me. How do our services then work to connect them to the next steps and kind of guide them to through that transition?
Yep. So all of the services that they're participating in over the summer, when school year starts back up, the goal is to make sure we're sharing that with teachers and educators so that we're taking that information to really help guide what that next step is. So ultimately what we want to do is develop what their employment goal is going to be and then the services and supports to be successful in reaching that goal. So once we learn more and the student learns more about themselves during the summer, what they like, what they don't like, they're starting to narrow that down so that when the school year comes around, then the teachers can take that from there as well. And again, pre-ETS happen year-round for us. So even during the school year, we're going into classrooms, into the school districts, and community opportunities for students to continue to participate, to learn more about themselves. But ultimately, the goal is what is that long-term career goal that you are now interested in pursuing?
Yeah, that's so cool. Obviously, a lot of the stuff we talked about is for students. What kind of transition services are available for adults? You know, maybe beyond that high school age.
Yep. So our transition services are focused on students and youth, but other services that we have to offer. So when a student graduates high school, right, we're still serving them under our youth umbrella for VR services, but they could be going on to post-secondary training or they could be looking for their final career goal. So we might be doing job search related activities with them. We could be doing job placement at that point. So it's really focused in on then connecting them to those businesses and what that long-term expectation might be. It could be making sure we're getting them referred within the larger workforce development system in case we need the business engagement team to become involved to help get that individual placed out in the community.
Yeah. And I got to imagine that for a lot of these students that are, you know, going through this process with some sort of a disability or some sort of a, you know, personalized education plan, this is such a valuable resource for them to get that kind of one-on-one help and assistance and getting them into those careers.
Definitely. We want to make sure they have the right supports in place. So sometimes it could be they need assistance with completing job applications, all the way to maybe they need interview assistance or a position that will work with their abilities. And so maybe it's communication with that business to make sure that we're getting them placed in that type of position.
Have you seen a big difference in the success of these students finding a career you know, prior to some of these programs coming into play versus now?
Yes. So we have a lot of students coming in for our summer pre-ETS programs that maybe have never held a job before. So they're learning the skills. For example, maybe we have some students that don't understand when is appropriate to use a cell phone on a job. And so they're learning that over the summer. So maybe that next school year, they're ready to move into a paid work-based learning experience where they can get hired on by a business. It's not necessarily their long-term employment goal, but it's a position that can help them build their skills for their future career. And so they're learning a lot about what might be the appropriate next step for something like that, whether it is how to fill out that online application for your first job or once you're hired, what not to do with your cell phone on the job. And so this program can help prepare them for that.
Yeah. I don't want to have you speak for a lot of the people that are kind of like boots on the ground helping these kids individually, but like I got to imagine it's a real satisfying feeling knowing that these folks that are oftentimes underserved and can potentially slip through the cracks are getting this kind of service, and it's got to feel good when you see them get placed into jobs.
Yes, our direct staff do an amazing job, and our contracted staff do an amazing job working with these students and youth to help meet their ultimate employment goals. And so I get the fortunate opportunity to read through some of those success stories. So I'm involved in a larger scale, but our direct staff are always making those comments and always sharing, this is a great outcome to know that the student maybe started out in Pre-ETS, started out participating in those summer camps, maybe went on to post-secondary, maybe didn't, maybe went on to certification track of some kind, but then ultimately met their ultimate career goal and closed out successfully through our program. So it's always great to read through or to see some of those videos put together of those success stories for those youth being successful.
Yeah. Is there anyone that comes to mind in particular? Like, I don't know if you can give an example of somebody that...
Oh gosh, you're putting me on the spot.
I know
here.
if you need to take a second to think, feel free.
We had a situation in Waterloo where we actually had a youth not fully engaged in the school district at that point, became involved in one of our contracted programs. Actually, their attendance at school increased because of the Pre-ETS activities that they were participating in. And even after that, was able to get through a certification program successfully and employed with one of the bigger industries there for business. And they were successful in reaching their ultimate goal and were actually so successful that they had advanced in their employment situation and been promoted, and were very happy about it and circled back to let our contracted and our internal staff know about that. And so reading through that and seeing that opportunity that they were afforded, the route that they were headed down, I guess, prior to being involved in that programming, probably wouldn't have resulted in the same outcome.
For sure, yeah. And something that we talk about a lot on this show is the fact that, when you have these types of, summer internship programs or work-based learning or something where like the employer is very like in lockstep with the programming, it results in these kids, staying in these jobs and staying in Iowa for the long term, which is something that I know that we're real focused on here.
Yes, definitely. It'd be great to see our graduates going on to post-secondary training programs and staying in the state of Iowa following that and working with our businesses, which is part of why I think businesses are constantly stepping up to help us with our summer Pre-ETS program, is they see that as an opportunity as well for that youth to really learn about what that business has to offer. So hopefully they will stay in Iowa.
Yeah. All right. Well, Mary, thank you so much for stopping by the podcast. I thought that was a great discussion, and certainly a program that we want more businesses to know about so that they can get themselves involved.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, Mary.